1. Blog Talk Radio.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Red Light Sports Ramble. I am Troy Otradovic. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Evan Watallison. Today, Evan, we have invited back a special guest who is the editor, the sports editor for the Royal Purple, and that is Kevin Cunningham. We had him on the show last Wednesday to preview the semifinal game that UW-Whitewater was in for the Division III football playoffs. We had mentioned last week if they win, we would invite Kevin back, and he has graciously accepted our invitation to come back and deal with us for 30 more minutes. But the Warhawks won last weekend, which puts them back into the Stagg Bowl, which is the Division III, basically the Division III Super Bowl. So everyone listening in today, sit back, listen to our ramble. We've got a great show. Special guest Kevin Cunningham, Royal Purple sports editor. Kevin, glad to have you join us again. And before we get started, I know that we talked last week about the Gagliardo Award, and I know that I believe the award ceremony is this evening. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. And thanks again for having me on. Definitely a pleasure to be talking about Warhawk football with you guys.
Wonderful. And so just to recap, give the listeners, the rundown on the Gagliardo Award, who it's presented to, what it resembles. So in case somebody didn't get a chance to listen last week, what is the importance of this award, and what do you think it would mean to have the representation from UW-Whitewater?
Yeah, like you said, there's 4 finalists. It's basically the DIII Heisman Trophy Award. Going to be tonight. I'll definitely tweet you or something to give you an update. So you guys can follow me. It's at KIDCUNI on Twitter. I'll definitely tweet the winner out there. And then also for Royal Purple newspaper, our sports section, the Twitter account is RP_sports. I'll definitely be tweeting out the winner there. But the 4 finalists are Kevin Burke, who's the Mount Union quarterback. That's probably the front runner in my opinion. He's a junior. He honestly probably should win it. He got a Division I on the Heisman ballot, which Jameis Winston just won last weekend or whatever that was. Kevin Burke, the quarterback from Mount Union, actually got a vote in there. I'm not sure if it was the first time ever, but it was the first time the guy that voted for him, that gave him a vote, it was the first time that he's ever done that. So basically the guy just said that he didn't think anyone had a remarkable season in Division I, so he figured he'd throw a vote to a Division III guy. I think that just shows, how much, notoriety and how great of a season that Kevin Burke's had in Mount Union. Second guy is a quarterback from Newberry, which I don't know too much about, but he led Division III in completions per game, as well as passing yards per game. He was actually second in passing yards per game at over 345 yards a game. Third is Octavius McCoy from Western Connecticut State. He is a Division III leader in scoring, which for running back is pretty impressive. Scored 26 touchdowns. He set a Division I, II, III all-division record on October 26 when he ran for 455 yards. So obviously he's had quite the season. And then the fourth guy from Whitewater, our senior middle linebacker, Paul Klotz. He, led us in tackles. Our defense was second in scoring all season, allowing 8 per game. That's a little higher now. That was without the Linfield game from last week, which would give us 15 in. But our defense hasn't given up more than 17 points all year. So, I think Klotz has definitely been the leader on that side of the ball. There's a lot of great guys on that defense, for sure. But
it is a great defense, Kevin, and I know that before the show, all 3 of us were talking, and I had mentioned to you, do we believe that a defensive player could win this award? Evan, I know how you feel about who the award should go to. So after Kevin answers, I'll let you chime in to your thought on who should be presented with the award. But do you think that we really could have our defensive player win this award tonight? Is there a chance that he could win?
As the guy that covers Whitewater football, it's it's obviously tempting for me to say that our linebacker should win it, and definitely that he's not that he's not deserving of it, because he's a great guy off the field as well as on the field, obviously. But I would have to give the edge to Mount Union's quarterback, Kevin Burke. I think that he's just had a great season leading that offense. I think their defense hasn't been stellar, which usually isn't the case. But as the quarterback for basically what has been the number one team ranked all year long, I think the edge probably goes to him as far as who should win the trophy. I think it's definitely hard for a defensive guy to win it. The last guy to win it was a safety in 2004. Since then it's been all offensive guys outside of skill positions. The only guy to win it was an offensive tackle in 2009, which honestly I have no idea how that happened. But as far as the defensive player winning it, there's only been the one safety in the last, I believe this might be the 20th or 21st season of the Gagliardi Trophy. There's been one defensive player.
So Evan,
quarterbacks go, Mount Union's had 2 winners.
Wow. So Evan, let's talk about this. I mean, you and I talked about the Heisman should be going to the best player. When we were talking Heisman, we were talking best player, but Gagliardi Award, same thing. It's a D3 Heisman. What's your thought on that, Evan, with a defensive player not winning very often? I mean, what are your thoughts on that, bud?
Well, I'm gonna take his word for it that Burke should be the winner. I don't know a lot about Burke's season or your middle linebacker season, but I just personally feel that if there's a defensive player deserving of the award, that they should win it. It's not an offensive trophy; it's for the best player in college football. And a couple of years back, I still believe, as much as I dislike him now in the NFL, and Sue should have won the Heisman a couple of years back. I think he was the best player in college football then. Unless it specifically says best offensive player, it should go to, it doesn't matter what side of the ball you're on, it should go.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting, and I can't wait, Kevin, to watch my Twitter feed tonight and see who actually wins this award. If you're thinking, and you cover football, week in and week out, you've been doing it all season. If you feel he's deserving of it, like Evan said, I'm going to take your word for it. I got to be a little bit biased. I mean, that's my alma mater. I want my Hawks to win and be represented nationwide. I always want them being number one. So, I'm a little bit biased there, but I'll take your word. And I know Mount Union always has a great offense, and we're going to definitely talk about that game coming up in a little bit. But as I said in the intro, it was great to be able to invite you back because that means the Warhawks won on Saturday. So what I'm going to have you do now is just kind of recap that game, go over, how the game flowed, what happened during the game, and some of the key moments that led to that victory.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly for Whitewater season, just to start with kind of how the game started. There's been multiple times where the team has won the coin toss to start the game, which is weird that we usually win the coin toss, but it's happened a lot this season. And typically we'll defer to the second half. So, the opposition will take the ball to start. And I'm not sure of the exact number, but, like I said before, this defense hasn't given up 20 points all year. But the points that they do give up, it typically is early. And on that first drive, the opponent scores, I want to say, at least four times this season, probably more like 5, where the opposing team on their first drive, they've opened up with, at least getting points. And honestly, a lot of the time it seems like it's a touchdown. So to start games, I think that that's going to be a big part of this game. I think that, Mount Union's offense, like you said, historically has been great. They're number one ranked right now as far as points per game with 49. Whitewater 2 weeks ago, when they played Linfield, they were, at the time, the number one ranked offense, scoring over 50 a game. We held them to 17. To start that game, we were down 17-0. And then last week, like you said, with Mary Hardin Baylor, we won that one 16-15. We were down 12-0 to start that one. Again, our defense just, for whatever reason it is, seems to start slower. And then once adjustments are made, whether that's, halfway through the second quarter, like the last two games have shown, then we just, completely shut teams out, whether that's, through adjustments or just halftime talks or whatever the case may be. Our defense definitely starts slower, but definitely revs it up as the game goes on. As far as with this Mount Union game, I definitely don't want to see Mount Union get out to a, early double-digit lead like opposing teams have the last 2 weeks. I think that Mount Union's defense, like I said before, isn't as strong as it usually is. They're giving up 19 a game, and they've given up 20-plus in 6 of their last 7 games. Also, just thinking of stats like that, this is the 8th time in the past 9 years for Division III football that Mount Union and UW-Whitewater have met in the Stagg Bowl. So, the two teams are definitely familiar with each other. But like I was talking about, as far as the start of the game, I think will definitely tell a lot about how the rest of the game will go. If Mount Union starts, with the ball and with the lead early, I think that I'm not sure if we'll definitely put up points as far as UW-Whitewater is concerned. Like I said, when I was previewing the Mount Union North Central game, which was the other semifinal, I figured that North Central, who had a great offense, would score 40-plus, which they did on Mount Union. They scored 40. But, I talked about their defense, and the problem would be stopping Mount Union, and they gave up 41 points. So, Mount Union won their game by 1 last week. We won our game by 1 last week. I think the start of the game will definitely be a key factor.
Well, when you look at this, Kevin, and you see the 41-40 game, and you see our 16-15 game, something's got to give here. You've got offense or defense. And so you talk about the start of the game. But where do you see this game ending up? Is this going to be a shootout? And if it gets into a shootout, do you think Whitewater has enough firepower to outscore Mount Union? Because if I think it becomes a defensive battle, I think Whitewater has it in the bag. And I hate to use that terminology. The reason I did is a prior ramble that we posted on a different site. But I think if it becomes a defensive battle, I believe personally Whitewater will win that battle. But if it has to get into a shootout, do you think the Warhawks have enough firepower to go toe-to-toe with that Mount Union offense?
I think this game, just to give a final score prediction, I think we'll win. It'll be close. I want to say that it'll stay in the high 20s, maybe low 30s. To give an exact score, I'd probably go something safe like 34-27. I think field goals will definitely be kicked because we've got a great kicker, and our defense just, typically stops teams when they are driving, to force the opposition to kick field goals. So I think field goals will definitely be kicked. Last time I checked the weather for Salem, Virginia, which is where the Stagg Bowl is at on Friday, game time is at 7 Eastern, I want to say.
It is 7 o'clock, like I told you. I'm trying to get down there.
59.
I'm trying to get down there, bud. It's only 5.5 hours from me. If I can get out of work, I will be at the game.
Yeah, I definitely plan on going as well. I'm taking the fan bus leaving tomorrow night with my assistant, so definitely should be a fun time.
What do you think, What do you think, Evan?
The temperature, the weather should be good for sure. As far as scoring, I think that if the game does turn into a high-scoring affair, I think we can score with them. Our offense hasn't had the greatest performances in the playoffs. I mean, we scored 16 last week, 28 2 weeks ago, 33 in the second round, 31 in the first. But our offense, as far as the entire season is concerned, we've scored 30 plus in most of our games, and I can definitely see us scoring 30 plus again on Mount Union. But again, like last week with North Central, the question is stopping Mount Union's offense, which I believe we have the defense to do, and that's why I think we'll be able to hold them into the 20s or low 30s.
Well, that would be great. I think we have a good opportunity. I know that when Evan asked you last week who you'd prefer, you thought this would be bittersweet to face off against Mount Union again. This is becoming pretty consistent. Whitewater, Mount Union for the Stagg Bowl. But what are your thoughts in there, Evan? I know you dropped out for a little bit. I had to let you back in the room. But what do you think, Evan? Any thoughts on the game, bud?
Yeah, I don't know what had even happened. Is I was hearing Kevin talk, and all of a sudden nothing. But I was still on the call, so I don't know what happened.
The joys of technology.
Dial it again. Yeah, technology can be a pain sometimes. But yeah, I think it should be a good game between Whitewater and Mount Union, two teams that know each other quite well. I obviously going to be rooting for Whitewater, being Wisconsin guy here. I root for all Wisconsin sports. But it definitely should be an interesting matchup. We have a high-powered offense versus a pretty stout defense. What is going to win out? And if anyone's defense can slow down Mount Union, I think it would be Whitewater from what I've read about and from what I've seen. So,
yeah, I think we're all in agreement here. And what it sounds like, Kevin, is you're saying if Whitewater can hold Mount Union to the high 20s, low 30s, we should be able to win this game. And I couldn't disagree with you there. It's going to be a good one. And so for those listeners that haven't watched Division III football, this is really a good game to tune into and watch it. I mean, these are going to be two very good teams, a lot of good players on both of these teams. And, this game on Saturday night is for all the marbles in Division III. But, Evan, you have any other questions for Kevin regarding the game?
So you said last week, and this is, like you guys are flying down to Texas. Are you guys flying out there, or are you guys going to be taking the bus?
I want to say that the team took the bus to Virginia. They did fly out to Texas last week. I'm pretty sure they took the bus this week. I know a guy that traveled with the team, and I want to say they took the bus. They arrived, I want to say yesterday, and then we're having a fan bus. UW-Whitewater is. Not sure exactly how many people will join that, but typically in the past we've had a lot of students get out there to Virginia, where the Stagg Bowl is always played. And like I said before, I definitely plan on being on that bus. So it is a 7 p.m. Eastern start on Friday, and it'll be nationally televised on ESPNU. And if you don't get have TV, don't get ESPNU. It's always on ESPN3.com as well.
Yeah,
very cool. And then for the listeners, just to let them know, your guys' head coach is going to be talking to the Chuck and Wicked show tomorrow morning on 1250 WSSP. He's going to be a guest on their show tomorrow.
Yeah, that should be interesting. I know he was on the Tim Brando show. I want to say, I know it was earlier in the week. Not sure if it was a couple days ago or not. But, yeah, he was on there. I didn't get a chance to actually watch that. But, yeah, he's definitely making some national appearances for sure. And he's also up for the Coach of the Year award, which I'm not sure exactly how it works because it's the Liberty Mutual Insurance Coach of the Year award. There are, I want to say they picked 4 winners in total. There are I think it's Division 1, 2, and 3 coaches are, up, 4 nominations. There are 5 different Division 3 finalists, 4 winners in total. I'm not sure how many are applying in general, but our football coach, Lance Leipold, is up there for that. And that'll take place on January 6th, right before the BCS championship game, the Division I championship between Florida State and Auburn.
That's a great lead-in.
Now, with all the success...
Go ahead, Evan.
Please go ahead.
Well, I was going to say...
I was going to say, with all this...
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, with all the success that he's had at Whitewater, is there any concern of anyone, trying to scoop him away from you guys?
There's been rumblings in the past. I'm not sure exactly what names there have been, but there's definitely been talks in the past. And, whenever he's asked about it, he doesn't, really say much about it. I know he's paid well here, and he, certainly loves it here. He was a quarterback here when he was in college. So, he's definitely, I guess, loyal to, his alma mater. And, now he's coaching. I'm not sure if this stat is correct or not, but I think he might have 99 career wins here, and the Stagg Bowl obviously would give him 100. I'm not 100% sure if that's correct, but I don't know why that's in my head, but it is. I'll have to look that up. But, there have been rumblings about him possibly going other places, not sure exactly what schools, but, as far as what I've heard recently, there's been nothing serious as far as, other schools trying to pull him away.
Well, he has had success, and where I was going to go before you start talking about him leaving other places is, being around the team this week, preparing for the Stagg Bowl. What is that team like? How are they reacting to this? I know that you had said in the beginning of the year they weren't quite sure what this team was made up of, and they went through the season undefeated, and so now they feel like they kind of belong. What is the attitude of the team before they got on the bus, went to Virginia? As you were around the guys, what's the attitude and what's the mentality like as they're preparing for this?
Unfortunately, I haven't been exactly with them for this past week or so. But as far as just in the past, the way their confidence has grown throughout the season, I think that Leipold talked about just basically he wasn't sure where this team was going to end up. He knew he had a strong defense. He had probably good quarterback play. Wasn't sure who the top running back would be. Historically, Whitewater's had great running backs. This year, due to injuries, we've been playing our fourth and fifth string guys who have stepped up and played like starters. But he wasn't sure about where this team would end up, and I think the team coming off a year where they didn't make the playoffs for the first time in I don't know how many years it was, but like I said, we've met Mount Union in the championship game 8 of the last 9 years. So coming off last year, not making the playoffs, there probably was a little bit of uncertainty and just kind of a realization around UW-Whitewater that the football team is beatable. We had a 46-game winning streak heading into last season, winning 3 straight national titles. So, to have a season where we lose 3 games, I think that entering this year, expectations were high, obviously, but they were more realistic. So as far as the team's, overall confidence is, it's definitely grown as the year's gone on. There's, a lot of young guys, especially on the offensive line. The defense is pretty veteran. There are a lot of veterans on the defense, but the team, I think their confidence in just showing these last few games that they can come back from adversity, giving up points early. They've done it throughout the year, and the offense has been able to pick up the pace, and the defense has been able to shut opponents down after that initial drive. So overall, I think the team's confidence is definitely up there. I think they believe they can beat Mount Union again.
That's wonderful. So, as I look, as we wind down here to about 6 minutes, I'm going to ask you my last question. And for you, Kevin, it's going to be this. For UW-Whitewater to win the national championship on Saturday, they must do this during the game on Saturday. What is this that they have to do Saturday for them to be victorious?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of key things. I think, like I pointed to earlier, the start of the game, I think, will be huge. I think if Mount Union knows they have a great offense, I think they know that their defense isn't something they can completely count on. The last 5 games, they've given up 20-plus. Last week they gave up 40. 2 weeks ago they gave up 59. I think the pressure for them is on their offense, and, Whitewater this season has been shaky on defense. That first drive, last 2 weeks, the first, 15 to 20 minutes of the game, the first quarter and a half. I think basically the start is really going to dictate the way this game goes. If Whitewater, can get the lead to start, I would be really surprised if the defense ended up losing the game. I think if Mount Union gets off to a hot start, up 14-17-0, then things can get shaky because Mount Union, like I've talked about, their offense is great. They're averaging over 500 yards a game, 250 through the air, 270 through the run. our rushing defense has been basically top 5 all year as well. That's another huge point. But, Mount Union averaging over 270 a game. We're averaging, giving up under 100 on the ground. That's going to be huge. But, Mount Union quarterback, Kevin Burke, is up for the Gagliardi Trophy, like we talked about earlier. Stopping him is going to be a huge thing. I don't think we'll be able to completely shut him down. But I think, if the defensive line can get pressure and, the defense can come up with stops early, I think Whitewater will end up being victorious.
Awesome. Any last question for Kevin, Evan?
No, I don't have one. I just want to say thanks for joining us. It's a pleasure talking to you. It's very insightful hearing about Whitewater, and best of luck to Whitewater. And you said you're going out there, right?
Thank you. And yeah, we leave tomorrow night.
Safe travel to you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm hoping to join you, bud. Like I said, if I find a way to make this trip, it's only 5.5 hours. If I find a way, I'll definitely shoot you. Well, I have your number. I'll shoot you a text, or I'll tweet you and say, hey, I'm at the game. Let's meet up, and maybe we can do an impromptu iPhone conversation and play something back when I get back. But we do have about 3 minutes left, so Evan and I are always about ribbing each other. And so, you know what, Evan, I think we got to rib Kevin on the air. I mean, we're talking before, and we found out that he's at Whitewater, but he's a Titans fan. So, we still let him on the show, though.
Well, it could be worse. It could be a Bear or a Viking fan. So at least he's not one of those.
Yeah, I can live with our guest being a Titan fan. I'm okay with that. But in all seriousness, Kevin, I do appreciate you taking the time to join us. We love having you, and I'll just put this out there. We'll try to find a day after the holiday to get back on, talk about the game. I know next week Evan and I even haven't talked about our schedule, but we'll definitely try to have you back on after the game to talk about your experience down there. And if I go down there, we can talk about that experience. But again, we do appreciate you coming on this afternoon. It was a blast as always. Any last words, Kevin, for anybody about Whitewater football?
Just that, we're planning on bringing another title home to Whitewater. After not making the playoffs last year, I think the team's definitely their confidence is up there, and they plan on winning. I know the defense's confidence is, up there. They've stopped number 1 ranked offenses before. Mount Union comes in with the number 1 ranked offense. That's
good to hear.
A little rivalry last 9 years.
Yeah, I love to hear that. So, Evan, we got 2 minutes left, and, of course, we have a lot of Packer fans that are listening, and, we just joked about being Titans, but just give the Packer fans an update on the Aaron Rodgers thing. We need to know. We always give an update, so give the last update here, Evan, about Aaron Rodgers and what happened today.
Well, he hasn't been medically cleared yet. They're going by the same time frame they did last week, so they're not going to make any announcements regarding his status till Friday. Just because he hasn't been cleared doesn't mean he won't play. But
90 seconds.
The odds aren't the greatest, so it's kind of be disappointing if he doesn't play. My first trip to Lambeau for Packer regular season game, and Rodgers doesn't play. And they're also expecting about 6 inches of snow up in Green Bay Saturday night into Sunday morning. So could be a very interesting game with or without Rodgers.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it's going to come down to it. We'll definitely talk about the game as we do our preview
60 seconds
tomorrow. But with that said, again, Kevin, we appreciate you joining us. Today we talked about UW-Whitewater football. For all of our listeners, keep it real, be safe. We'll see you at the next red light. As always, our pleasure to come to you this evening. We'll get at you soon.